Battlefield 6's big reveal just took place in LA, and everyone on Reddit is already freaking out trying to destroy the game's movement and gameplay elements. In this video, I'm going to stand firmly on business. I'm going to hold my ground. I'm just going to say just some things that I need to get off my mind. So let's get into it. If you enjoy the channel, if you want to follow Battlefield 6, be sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and of course, join the Discord, follow me on Twitter and Instagram. All links are in the description. Alright, so shortly after the Battlefield 6 multiplayer reveal went down, of course, Reddit, like clockwork, instantaneously went to crying, sobbing, and just being hysterical in general over the movement and some gameplay elements of Battlefield 6, like they always do. And in this video, I'm just going to simply explain why they are completely delusional and wrong, and also, I'm just gonna say it, probably all shit at the game. Alright, I'm tired of it. I am tired of going on Reddit, going on Twitter, and seeing people constantly complaining and crying and bitching up a storm about a game they literally haven't even played yet. Let's keep in mind, most of the people commenting on this haven't experienced the game. I have. I was in Battlefield Labs, so I'm going to let you guys know how this actually played. But before I do that, let's hear Vince Zampella and Byron Bede's thoughts on the movement and if they plan on having any changes.
Also, attack sprint's been a huge discussion out there. I don't know if you guys have any updates or details on that, and if not, any movement we should be looking out for, because all these titles are now, switching up on how they want to portray their movement. There's a lot of updates for that. I don't know where that's going in the future, but any updates when it comes to movement? No. Gotcha.
As far as I'm concerned, that essentially ends the discussion right then and there, but let's start having it, shall we? The very first thing that we have to establish as a baseline understanding for this topic is the time to kill and how that plays into movement's viability. Battlefield 6's time to kill is extremely fast, which means that if you use any of these movement options, you are taking an extreme risk. You will likely die more often than not. I am really not too sure why a lot of Battlefield players lie on the internet and act like hitting the slide key gives you an automatic win in a gunfight, or jump peeking gives you an automatic win in every single situation. It doesn't. That's just a flat out lie. It's delusional, and the game doesn't play like that, and they know it, and they're coping. And just to round off this point about the time to kill relative to movement viability, if you try to use aggressive movement against somebody in Battlefield 6 that has a good position and they aren't completely asleep at the fucking keyboard, you're probably not gonna win that fight. If I jump peek you and you're on a head glitch and you lose in a game with 200 millisecond time to kill, you kind of got absolutely destroyed. Now I'm going to be going over the clip that everybody's losing their minds over for some reason. This is Shotzi. He's a Call of Duty professional player. He just gets 2 kills, one with a jump peek while shooting and one while sliding. And there are some things you guys need to understand about how the mechanics of this game work so that you understand just how normal and how not overpowered this movement actually is. First, touching on jumping while shooting specifically, you need to understand that in Battlefield 6, your point of aim is tied to your weapon's sight, which means wherever your sight is pointing, that is where your bullets are going. In previous Battlefield games, this was not the case, most notably in Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4, and even Battlefield 1. In all of those games, your bullets would always go towards your screen center, ignoring any sort of visual sight movement. Which means in Battlefield 3, 4, and 1, your point of aim, or where your aim is actually sending those bullets, it's not affected by sight wobble like we see in Battlefield 6. But in Battlefield 6, because your bullets go where your sight is going, your aim is massively affected by this wobble that you see in the footage right now. And because this wobble is so severe when you try to jump and shoot at the same time, this heavily reduces the range at which jumping while shooting is viable at, making it, I'd say, only viable in very niche scenarios in close quarters. In my experience playing Battlefield Labs, doing any sort of jump peek was only viable within 0 to, I'd say, about a maximum of 30 meters if you can really dial in perfecting and countering that sight wobble. And on top of that, it is different per each weapon. So it means that not only do you have to counter the sight wobble in general, you kind of have to learn a bunch of different sight wobbles if you want to do this on a bunch of different guns. Not to mention the fact that when you're jumping and shooting at the same time, you are in place, right? You're not really moving, you're just moving up and down, not left or right or anything, in a game with 200 millisecond time to kill, which means that if you do it in front of more than one person, if that one person, again, is awake and a sentient human, they will likely kill you. So jump peeking and jumping while shooting in this game is, without question, not overpowered at all. It is actually quite difficult to effectively implement in gameplay, and it should not be nerfed in any way, shape, or form. In fact, I would argue the sight wobble I showed you in this clip may actually be too punishing. It simply wasn't like this in any previous Battlefield game, and I would say implementing jump peeking or jump shooting in your gameplay in BF6 is going to be the hardest it ever has been. Now moving on to the second part of the slide in this clip, where he runs through these doors, slides past this person, and kills him. Reddit was really crying up a storm about this clip, but what's really funny about it is information that came out later really just exposes how little Reddit actually knows about how Battlefield 6 plays, because after this clip went viral, Tactical Brit, who was a person that was invited to play at this creator event in LA, quote tweeted this clip and said the only reason the slide covered so much distance is because there was a physics bug in the build they were playing in LA, and the actual slide apparently, quote, feels great and isn't spammy. So Reddit was crying up a storm about a slide clip that was actually just bugged physics. But you know what's funny? Even if the physics weren't bugged and the slide really did cover that much distance, I still wouldn't consider it to be overpowered, because there's a turn rate cap, which you can actually just barely see in this clip. He has trouble turning that far while he's actually sliding. There doesn't appear to be any directional control like Battlefield 5, so it locks you in one direction while you're sliding. And on top of that, that amount of distance on a slide may not even be beneficial to your gameplay, because as you can see in the clip, he threw himself way past where I think he wanted to go, and probably in the line of sight of somebody else, and he had to actually, come to a stop and then turn around, and by that time, you might be getting shot in the back or shot from somewhere else anyway. But the version of the slide that I used in my experience with Battlefield Labs was significantly worse than the slide we see in the clip that I just showed you. And I'm well aware that the build they're playing at the creator event is apparently the beta build, and yes, it does look like they improved a lot of aspects of movements from the Battlefield Labs builds that I personally play tested. But let's assume just for a second that the slide that we all saw in that clip only covered 50% of the distance. Are we going to sit here and act like that's some sort of problem if it locks you in one direction and it has a turn rate cap? It's not even better than Battlefield 5 slide, if that's the case, because at least Battlefield 5 slide had directional control. So I hope that just provided some insight into how actually not overpowered or concerning at all some of this movement is in Battlefield 6. In my opinion, they actually reached somewhat of a shocking middle ground. I never thought I would see this sort of middle ground actually achieved. I think it provides a decent skill gap that will satisfy players like myself, but I don't think the movement will be so disgustingly overpowered that it will suddenly destroy the entire gameplay of the game. The movement is easy enough to pick up, it's fun, it's responsive, it's engaging, and at this point, I really think a lot of people complaining about the movement on Reddit and probably in the comment section here should probably just go play a game that satisfies what they want. If you don't like jumping, if you don't like fast movement, if you don't like fast sprinting, if you don't like crouch spamming, if you don't like the slide, maybe you should go play this wonderful game that's 50% off on Steam right now called Squad. I'll even do you one better. I'll suggest you Squad as the game, and I'll suggest you a great Squad YouTube channel. His name is Moydog. I'll link him in the description. If you don't like Battlefield gameplay, you should go try to play another game that satisfies what you're looking for. And all of these other milsim games that, for some reason, all these players wanting movement to be gutted aren't playing are readily available to be discovered and sound a lot closer to what some people want. And I'm so sorry, but I'm kind of not sorry. I'm going to be the most irritating person on this subject possible throughout the entire lifespan of Battlefield 6, because guess what? The Battlefield community finally has a decent Battlefield title on the horizon, and I just will simply not allow people that haven't even played the game to attempt to gut the gameplay before the game even releases. And it looks like I'm not alone in this fight, because if you scroll down these threads, you will see people with the same sentiment as me in the comment section, fighting in defensive movement, telling these people that are constantly complaining about any sort of movement to basically play another game. Play another game, guys. We waited so long for Battlefield 6, and we're not gonna let you bitch up a storm and ruin it. So I suppose you could say movelets BTFO. I hope this video was informative. I hope you got some sort of information from it, right? Some sort of mechanical knowledge about how this stuff works in Battlefield 6 and why it isn't overpowered. If you want to follow Battlefield 6 for more content, I have so many videos in the pipeline. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit the like button, join the Discord, and swing by stream. I stream every single day at twitch.tv/enders. Massive, insane support from you guys. Just really, just thank you guys so much for it. I will be streaming the beta as soon as it goes live. I think at 4 in the morning, I will be up, and I will be streaming it, probably for a ridiculous amount of time. So I hope to see you there, and I will see you guys in the next video.